Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Now let's give a warm welcome to our main speaker, Carrie.
Hi everybody, my name is Carrie White and I'm a recovering alcoholic. Probably a drug addict too. Since I got here drooling on myself at the Venice methadone clinic, and I walked around my house with a propane torch, and if it melted, I smoked it. Oh my God, thank you, Dan, for, where are you? Where'd you go? There you are. For asking me to share and bring Chris, bring a leader. You're a wonderful sweetheart. And happy birthday to all the birthdays. I see my two girls, Candace and Maureen, who were there when I got sober at the log cabin. And Kevin's here, and a lot of friends and a lot of people. And, you know, AA has been a celebration of life for me since day one, that I could breathe a free breath and finally have the gift of consciousness called sobriety. And I've been on a pink cloud for 17 years. My sobriety date is May 5th, 1984, class of 84. And I always say, like, I'm a greedy junkie. I'm like not giving up my honeymoon. I'm sorry, I didn't come here to have a bad time. I already had a bad time. You know, that was like before I got here. It was like, but alcoholism, they told me, is not alcoholism. And I'm still as involved with this program 17 years later as I was day one when they told me to put my energy into this program like I did for getting high. And it just takes a little longer around here, you know, but you will get high. And God, when I come to Malibu, it's when I just like, woo, the ghosts of the Joneses are alive. Because my bottom was on Morning View. I have a house over there that I haven't lived in since 1984 because they told me I would drink and die before I got out of my driveway. And that they'll tell me when I can go move back and live there, you know, back in Malibu. And I just, when they say more shall be revealed, and then I'll start a little bit up with the beginning, but Chris, we worked together, told me that my daughter and they were talking and laughing how at my house on Morning View that I knew I was never going to see the beach, you know what I mean? I knew I was never going to get to the ocean. And that I remember a big umbrella that I had brought into the living room, but I had forgotten that I brought buckets of sand as well into the living room so I could put my cigarettes out right on the floor. Oh, God, I was just a mess. I said, oh, yeah, I think I do. I thought it was such a clever idea. Well, just bring the sand in the house, because I'm never going to get to the beach. I was so pissed off when I got to Rodeo, and I heard all the, well, first of all, I saw my dealer at the meeting. I thought, well, what if I don't want to stay? What the hell's he doing in here, you know? And then... And then I heard all these people talking about all these heroin dealers in Malibu, and I'd been schlepping to Kingsley and Burbank Boulevard. I was so mad. I thought, there are heroin dealers in Malibu? God damn it, I was so mad. Anyway, okay. Oh, well. Oh, God. Oh, and one last hysterical story. I mean, I was like a bag lady in the backseat of a limo. The only difference between me and a bag lady is I had an address, you know, but we didn't look different. And one time my son, and I promise I'll start from the beginning, but my son was driving to some party with one of his friends in L.A. to a party over here by, I can't even remember the names of the streets, but it was really close to our house, and they were in a limo, a bunch of them, and they started talking about how his mother used to be in limos all the time. Well, I couldn't afford gas, but I could always charge a limo. You know what I mean? I'd have a month before I could like come up with the money, so that like worked for me. But immediate gas to get to the dealer was like I was broke. You know, I didn't have any money. And he would start talking about this story, and the limo driver turned around and said, "Oh, I used to drive that horrible woman." Started talking. He's like, and my son says, "That was my mother." You know, so he started telling stories about. Oh well, okay, well anyway, I had to get that out and get rid of all the Malibu ghosts. They all wanted to talk. Okay, so let's see here. Who am I? Who are we really? That's one thing I do want to say. You know, Alcoholics Anonymous for me has, I want what I have today. You know, I didn't know what you had when I first got here, and what I have today becomes more precious to me the more sober I am, to not lose it, to stay in this gift of sobriety, which I truly know it is a gift. You know, my husband was taken to the same meetings by the same person, and he didn't make it, and he died from alcoholism. My mother was taken to meetings, the same meetings I was taken to, by the same person in the 70s. My husband in the late 70s, and then myself in the 80s. And you know, I'm not here because I'm a better person than my mother or my husband, who died of this disease. And my mother, by the way, died in County General Hospital of alcoholism at 54 years old. And all I knew is that I didn't want my children to see me die the same death that I had seen my mother die from, but I didn't know how it was going to be possible because I couldn't quit drinking and doing drugs. And they wrote that she died of pneumonia, was on her death certificate. And I've always had some kind of hardcore mission in here in Alcoholics Anonymous, or in my life since my sobriety, to stand up and say, you know, I'm an alcoholic. I'm not ashamed of it. It's not a moral issue. I really get upset with alcoholism being some kind of secret, you know, that that there's a shame about being an alcoholic. If any of us could make ourselves alcoholics, we could unmake ourselves alcoholics. I can't make that drink do for me or do to me, or what it sets up, the craving, or how I become or change I'm not in charge of that. You know, so I just want to say, if you're new, you know, being an alcoholic, this is not a shame-based program, and it's not really a moral issue, though. Through our alcoholism untreated, we do need to take a moral inventory because of how my behavior is affected through my untreated alcoholism. But, you know, I'm cellularly different from my fellows. My mother died of this disease. My father died of this disease. You don't plant 2 peaches and get a pineapple. Hello, alcoholic, you know. It's like, I was conceived in a vat of alcohol, okay? And the seed was loaded that planted me. It was just like, that's what it is, you know. And I never wanted to be with anybody but alcoholics. And I'm still with my favorite people, alcoholics, you know. And I love it, except people remember my name and where they saw me last. And lucky me, I remember where I parked my car, you know. Why I didn't get sober the night where I couldn't find my car after that Pink Floyd concert at the Forum, I don't know. That should have been the last night, you know, for me. Because you know how you find your car if you lost it at the Forum? You have to wait till every car is gone. And you know what's really bad about that? When your drugs are in the trunk. And you're kind of sick and jonesing at this point, you know. Not to mention you're really parched, you know. Mickey Big Mouth, that was it. Heroin got me off of vodka, and then, you know, but I always had that clutch, you know. They had to pry the bottle of Mickey Big Mouth out of my hand at the 6th hospital. It was like, you know, that's when I first heard the term, let go, Carrie, let go. Oh, God. Anyway, okay, mom, dad, alcoholics. I never said the word father till I got to AA. You know, it just was not a word in my vocabulary. And I have, let's see, it's a little after, 5 after 9, okay, 55, 10, 15, 18 minutes to, well, we won't get too deep into the drunkalogue here. My sponsor always says, I don't care what you say, just end on time. You know, that's kind of like shows recovery. Consciousness, okay? I drank and used for as long as I could, and then I drank and used 10 years after that. That's basically, you know, my story. People always say, like, well, what happened? What made you want to get sober? First of all, why do those guys, Bill and Bob, really think that we could tell what it was like we were there? How can we, like, you know, somebody else should be telling our story, you know. I'll tell you what he did. I'll tell you what she was like. You know. I just thought it was glamorous, you know, except that my bedroom looked like an aerial view of Vietnam from nodding out with cigarettes, you know. It was like, and the propane torch taking all the sorry curtains out. Oh, you know, it's like, now only us, we would be laughing about this. You tell anybody else like what it was like, and they're, God, that's horrible, or they're crying, you know, and you're laughing, oh, fun. Then I drove the car without brakes to Laurel Canyon. You know, I just thought I was a genius downshifting, you know, through the canyon, you know. I mean, I walked by Malibu Park. We're back in Malibu. I don't know what you're going to hear tonight, but anyway. I walked by my kids were going to Malibu Park. I bought a house right next to the school because I knew I couldn't take them to school. That was really my thinking. I didn't realize I had such a steep driveway and they hated me. You know, it was like, I know we live next door, but we live 2 acres up, you know. And one day I couldn't, the car just, you know, we go to the wheels drop off. I had a car before I like started renting limos. I had a car, but I kept saying, oh, the brakes don't sound quite too good. I'll fix that tomorrow. And, you know, I got to get to the dealer. And then I get to the dealer and then I get high. And then it was like, it's all right. It's not really that big a deal. You know, everything was like that in my life. And anyway, the only reason, I don't know why I didn't go to jail. I should have been arrested every single day for driving with the drug intake, you know, let alone just transporting me anywhere. But I remember literally walking by, like, this was one of the times when I was going to take a bus from PCH and Morning View there to Laurel Canyon. And thank God a motorcycle guy came by. You know, complete stranger. I mean, I should be dead, forget my own hands, just by the people I hung out with. But as I was walking by the school, I was looking at all the cars to see if somebody possibly would have left their keys in the car, you know. And I would have left a note. I'll be right back. I'm sick. Your car's okay. You know, Grand Theft Auto, go to jail. You know what I mean? It's like, but I thought it made sense to me. If I leave a note, I'll be back in an hour. I'm not feeling well, you know. Where's my car? You know, like, oh, well, there was no keys. Hairdressing. This is a hairdresser's convention here tonight. Geez, I was so lucky to find hairdressing. All right, I'm an only child. I grew up with this alcoholic mother that I rarely ran into, which I thought I had a good childhood till I wrote about it in my inventory. I thought everything was perfect. I started mixing drinks for my mother and her boyfriends when I was 5. I'd already been sipping the coffee table, which never had coffee on it, by the way, when I was 2 1/2, and everybody was passed out, and I clearly remember, like, you know, scooting around, you know, and it was like easy. It was like bourbon. It was 7-Up. My mother was an artist. She worked at home, which I know now. She worked at home for the convenience of not having to go to work so she could drink. And I remember being on the floor and looking up at my mother through that amber glass, and that's how I saw my mother, was through that amber glass. It was my connection to my mother. It was all about alcohol. When I went to school, in grammar school, and grabbed my mother's coffee one morning, like to see what that was, it was laced with bourbon. And I went, oh, I get it. You put it in everything. Okay. And And that was it. It was just adding to it all the time till I never not did anything, till I got here. So let's see, I got arrested at 9 for being drunk and disorderly at a party because when I was 9, I was born on Burton Way, and quickly my mother married this one guy, and we went out to the far-off distant fields of mustard fields and new-built homes to a little town called Pacoima. And so I learned Spanish and how to do that pachuco, how they get their hair so high. Anyway, and then I found out that's where you hid your knives and your hairpins, so you got to fight with people. Anyway, so my girlfriend and I at 9 had boyfriends 15 and 16, and we drank beer and ditched school. And this is grammar school. This is like 6th grade, and it just was very automatic. It just was, nothing was questionable in my life. I never thought about my feelings. It was just always, life was a carrot hanging on a stick, and I was chasing it. And I chased and chased and chased, and I didn't get till maybe I was in Alcoholics Anonymous about 5 years that a tool for that is so strong here that says it's attraction rather than promotion. And that's been a treating tool for me, to not try to hard sell or push or just to be still. Anyway, we learned how to smoke cigarettes. I'm 14 years off cigarettes through another program, in which I go to every Monday, because I go to this program every Monday. All the time for 17 years. And I don't drink and I don't use, and I go to other programs to treat other things. I probably could qualify for any program with an A on the end of it, but just go to a few. But if I had a gambling problem, I wouldn't go to Overeaters Anonymous, you know what I mean? It's like they're out here, and it's so glorious that we have these 12 steps, and there's only 12, not 400. Aren't we lucky? I always say, I'm on step 250, what a bitch. Oh, step 325, when you get there, it's like smooth sailing out there. So I learned how to smoke cigarettes, and the first thing I got was how to French inhale, and then somebody said, God, doesn't that get you dizzy? And I went, well, yeah, that's my favorite part. And that's what alcoholism is for me, to get dizzy, to get out of my mind. I can leave my body in sobriety. It's like there's many things that take me out of my mind, and okay, so we're doing the parallel trip. Drunk-along, sobriety, all at the same time. Okay. Okay, well, let's move on from 9. Jesus. Okay, busted. So here was my message, though. When I got arrested from my disease, at 9, that, Carrie, you better be careful. My disease said to me, they could take this away from you. And I knew that I had to protect my disease. I didn't know the terms disease or alcoholism, but I was such a functioning alcoholic, I can't even begin to tell you. But up until 17 years ago, in my work, in my salon and everything, I knew towards the end, before I lost everything and moved to Malibu. Sorry, no, retired. Oh, so tired. I would take a cab to work because I knew I was going to be just out of my mind. Well, actually, I'd been out of my mind for years, and some customer would take me home. Okay, all right, 9 years old, she's busted. Okay, my mother goes through San Fernando Valley. We moved back to Hollywood. There I am at Hollywood High. I'm the perfect pachuco. Now it's another social shocking change, and somebody asked me to model for them in beauty school, and so there it was for me. I used to think my disease took me into beauty school, that it was the perfect place for it to hide, and I could, drink and use and be my own boss and do whatever I wanted to do. But the truth is, I'm ADD. They wouldn't tell me what the X and the Y was in algebra, so there's no way I could ever get to college. I never heard of the word academic. It was not a household word in my house. I say house, you notice, not home. And, I was just really so fortunate for somebody like me who had really nowhere to go, that I found hairdressing, and that it was just a magical mystery tour for me. I mean, the comb and the scissors took me all over the world, and I was doing every celebrity I ever wanted to know. I was, whether they were political or actors or, professional people, music business, just everything. I was like surrounded. These people were calling me and asking me for to do their hair and take me here and take me there and take me there. And the bigger my life got and the better my life got, the bigger my disease got. Bigger, more, until I was about this big, and my disease, which I call Audrey, like the flower in the little shop of horrors, feed me! More bodies! It was like, ooh, I can't, I'm in there somewhere. Okay, more shipping, more cocaine, more whatever, It's like, okay, I'm working on it. I knew I was like a slave to this thing. I was like on this surfboard, with no land in sight, serving my disease, It was like, I knew I had to quit, but now, it was like, I don't know. It was like, I'll think about it tomorrow. Even in the Venice Methadone Clinic, I was like the rattiest looking one there. Everybody, and me, I thought, don't they know who I used to do and who I am, who I used to be, or I don't know what. And they were all kind of neatly pressed and coming for their methadone. And me, I'm like Gloria Swanson on Sunset Boulevard. My coat's ripped. I've been in this rabbit coat for God knows how long. I don't even know. And I'm like, I gotta get clean tomorrow. I get the methadone, run across the street to the Rose Cafe, grab a Corona, call the dealer, and I was off and running. It was like one long day. My idea of a good evening was a 9-day run. Whew, it was impossible. And God, I got 6 minutes. Okay, sobriety. So 6 hospitals, because I just wanted to get rid of that nasty little heroin habit. And I thought I'd go back to work and, just drink and do cocaine, like in the good 70s days, I still want to be buried with a disco ball, quite frankly. And a ghetto blaster with Donna Summers, we just put it in those Duracell batteries, shovel in the dirt, the last dance. It's the last dance. Oh, God, I hated when I heard that song. No, not yet! No, one more! Just never wanted the party to be over, It's true. I mean, I was doing hair in spandex pants, roller skates, hats and sunglasses. Who would come to me? But they did. They come in November and leave in December. I don't even know what the hell. It was just crazy. It was so crazy. And we think I don't know. I used to think, well, this is how I am. No. It's how I am when I drink and I do drugs and I can't stop, But inside, I had a couple of children, and then I had a couple more children, and, I'd marry people and have babies, and I love my kids, and I never saw a child until I had one, and I didn't want them, like I say, to see me die the death that I saw my mother die, and then I get to Alcoholics Anonymous and I see her name in all these rooms. My mother's name is Grace. And I know today that my mother gave her life for me to get the lesson of her life to give to me, that alcoholism kills, And I didn't even know the meaning of her name till I got here. I used to think Gracie. It was like Gracie Burns or something. I just said Grace, And then I see her name here all the time, and somebody had me look up the word grace, and it says it is an unmerited, by the way, divine assistance. And I know every day I'm clean and sober that my mother didn't die in vain, nor did my husband, nor did my father, who died in Chicago, I heard later. And then the worst part, I was so good with just being anesthetized from my father. And then I found out he had been in AA for 9 months, and then he ran into my mother, and they had a little slip, and then he died. But I thought, ooh, and somebody told me this after I had about 10 years of sobriety. Now, I'm embrace this program and wrap my arms around everybody. I'm a sponsor, mama, and which helped me be a mother, It was the program reversed everything for me. I have, oh, by the way, I have a son in the program, and I have my last baby daughter came through the same recovery house I came through 16 years later. You know, this is a family disease, and I'm so grateful that I was able to, you know, break into recovery. Hopefully, you know, I'll die sober. Hopefully my children, you know, will embrace the only requirement, you know, that I think is such a miracle for any of us to have, and that is the desire. The desire. Where did that come from? I had the desire to die than not drink. You know, how do you nurture and protect and care for that? That is the most important thing in the world to any of us, I believe, you know, because I might want to drink. I mean, I really have been blessed with the obsession being removed. I really haven't wanted to. I've had more than my share. I clearly know that. And your share too, probably. But I just say to all of you, you know, if we might have the desire to drink some time, or it comes up, as long as we have that desire to stay sober just a little bit more. You know, if somebody says, oh, drinking and using isn't an option for me, I'm go like, why? Aren't you an alcoholic? Of course it's an option for me. It's always going to be an option for me. But I have a sponsor, and I work with other people, and I have power, many powers greater than myself. You know, my children are powers greater than myself. That, you know, I'm the mother I always wanted to have. I'm the mother I always wanted to be. I'm like, God. I never heard the word dignity till I came to Alcoholics Anonymous, and somebody took a cake at Rodeo, and this girl said dignity, and I thought, wow, dignity. You know, me, I'd been doing swan dives on those backstage, you know, pass rooms, you know, like until I didn't get invited anymore. And no, that's okay. You can just do my hair at the house. You don't need to really come to the Grammy party tonight. Well, I always used to go to the Grammy party with you. Well, it's okay. We're a little crowded tonight. You know, and you know that degrading feeling, though it was just an awfully big word, like those other words they teach us, like consecutive. How do they expect anybody to say such a big word like that? Anonymity, you know, you can always tell a newcomer. No. Oh, they trick us. They get us in here, they just like, la, 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 you get a chip. I thought, how do they think we're going to, like, you know, go from, like, 90 days to 6 months? That's like 3 months without a chip in between, you know. I used to take so many chips, I thought I'd take my first cake in a hula skirt with chips. I thought, oh, that'll be cute, you know. And then I thought, wow, what kind of a high could a cake be that they think we could have nothing till the next cake? No chips in between, nothing. Oh, God. All right, my time is up. You know, embrace this program. Write Chapter 5 if you never have. Let the words come off the page into your heart. See how it works in your own hand. Write it out. Get to have a courtship with this program. You know, people will change. I'll fail you. You'll fail me. Whatever. Who cares? But the program will never, never fail you, and your sobriety will never fail you. You know, and we got a long time to be dead, so let's thank God and be alive. Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think. Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here. remote control is connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst and one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.